Hello everyone, this is just a quick video to demonstrate the Nikon Coolscan 9000 I'm selling on eBay. I'm making this video so you see that this camera is in really good condition, is working, and the Nikon Scan software is also working. For the eBay auction you are getting the scanner, all the holders that came with it. I've mostly used just the 35mm holder and the medium format holder. In this case, however, with the option you're also getting the glass holder, a relatively rare item these days anyways, and a very needed item if you're going to be using this scanner and scanning medium format to keep the film perfectly flat. You are also getting this laptop. Now this laptop is running on Windows 8. The scanner is, the software for the scanner is actually working. With this computer I managed to install it with a driver hack that someone made online. The previous installation for Vista, which is the last operating system supported by Nikon for Nikon Scan, that was in this computer, was corrupted, and I don't have a Vista CD and I do have a Windows 8 license. However, this is installed on a trial basis, so you do need to get a license. The license for Windows Vista on this laptop is actually right here at the bottom, and you'll be able to install it if you have a Vista CD, or if you can actually manage to get an ISO and install it. I don't know how to do any of those. The laptop, you can't see it here, it's going to come with its dock, so you can definitely install from a CD. You're getting the laptop, however, you're getting a working, kind of like ready to go sort of solution. You need to get a license for either, Windows 8. If you have one, then great. If you don't, then get Windows Vista if you can. Sadly enough, I don't have a CD, but at least you're getting a plug-and-play solution straight out of the auction. Now, let's start with the scanner. The scanner is obviously in great condition. I've taken care of it very well for the years that I've had it. It's got, I would say, relatively light use, since I've only used it for university when I was getting my degrees, and digital photography was not, well, it was considerably expensive at the time, so I only had film cameras. This is 2008, and at the beginning of 2008 I managed to get one of these, probably one of the last ones that was new, and I got it from a shop that doesn't exist anymore in Tottenham Court Road. I can't remember what was the name of it, but it was a Nikon exclusive shop, and they had this one. Now, the holder I got later, after I realized that it was actually a good idea to have a glass holder for medium format and for 35mm as well, if you wish. The software, I've always used Nikon Scan. I know that you can use ViewScan, and I know that you can use Silverfast. That being said, I never completely saw the benefit of using any of those. I was very happy with the results I was acquiring through ViewScan, and I'm going to show you just really quick how the scanner is working, and how how Nikon Scan is actually working with the scanner. I know many people may be watching this and they are just, trying to find out whether the scanner is just in working condition or not, but others may want to know a bit about the operation of the scanner, and in this case then you're going to get a very light tutorial. When Nikon Scan loads, you're going to get three particular windows. They're very important. The progress window, this will tell you, when things are going to finish. Your actual scanning window, also called the Twain source, and on the right hand side, your tools. Let's start with, first of all, most of these are inactive. As you can see, you can't really click on anything, and that's because there is no film holder inside the scanner. The scanner takes about 2 minutes to warm up, and it's going to have a blinking light at the beginning. It's not going to be able to take in any of your holders. That's because the scanner is calibrating for your scanning session. And once it's done, after about 2 minutes, you're going to get that solid green light. And once you get that, then you're ready to go. So we're going to start with 35 millimeters. These are black and white negatives. And off you go. Scanner will take it. And as soon as it knows which holder it is, it's going to give you the interface that is appropriate for that particular holder. So in this case, 35 millimeters. And we're going to get 12 so far grey frames on the interface right here. It does a bit of focusing at the beginning, mind you, and I believe that you can stop it at, I mean, I haven't used this in a while, so I believe that you can actually stop it from focusing and just, go straight to the interface. So as you can see now, we have a little peaky window here. As soon as you hover over your mouse, it will come up, and there we go, 12 frames now. With 35 millimeters, because the actual frame placement is the same all the time, the scanner knows where they are, and the scanner knows which one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. With medium format, it's slightly different, since, as you can see, medium format can go, you can place your negative anywhere, to the left or the right, or if you have a shorter strip, you can place it anywhere. So the scanner particularly knows which frames you have in which place, so you don't necessarily need to do an all preview, but I always do it because it's great to see this, not the gray area. But relatively quickly we're going to get some thumbnails for all 12 frames. Now we're not getting previews yet. The scanner takes a little while to do every preview, so we're just requesting the thumbnails, and if you are like me, you could make a relatively quick and rough decision about which ones you actually want. So in this case, we have just a bunch of frames. So I'm going to select frame 9, frame 6, 2 and 1. And I don't know if you can actually notice, but there is a bit of a changing hues in between all of the black and white frames. That is because on the left hand side we have negative color or negative mono, along with positive, and Kodachrome. It's got its own kind of like presets. Now, I found out from my experience that scanning these in negative color and at the bottom calibrating RGB instead of grayscale will give us slightly more information to work with. Even if it's black and white film, you can always desaturate once you go to Photoshop and it'll work fine. Essentially, we're going to do a color scan of a black and white frame, and we can work on it after. I'm not showing you that part, just this part. So I have selected a few frames. Basically, all you have to do is just keep Control pressed, and you're selecting quite a few here, which you're selecting 4, and we're going to get the preview of this 4. Now, on the progress window right here, you can see it says acquiring preview. We're not saying of which frame, it just says acquiring preview, but we see here in the queue that there is item 2 preview, item 6 preview, item 9 preview, ready to go after it finishes the first one. There is a log window as well if you, if you're interested in logging your session, but essentially will tell you as well what it's doing now. So right now it says item 1 preview started. It'll give you a date and kind of time, in case you're interested in benchmarking the scanning speeds. Other than that, you just have to wait for a bit, and what we're going to do is we're going to select just item 1. This window you can resize to have a single line, or you can have 2, I think up until 3. In the case of the resolution of this screen, this is how this space is made. So right now we have just 3 frames. We get our first preview right here. I'm going to close the little window, and I can see that it's a frame. And on the right hand side, meanwhile it's acquiring the rest of the previews, you can start selecting your parameters for your final scan. I don't use color balance on shot mask, LCH editor or digital eyes with any of my scans. Not because I don't see the benefit of it, it's just that perhaps it's always worked like that. For me, I want a flat, bland scan. Your technique may vary, that's completely fine, it's always worked like this for me. You have a few parameters right here. You have your manual focus adjustment. There's an extra parameter missing here, which we're going to see when we do the medium format scan. Manual focus adjustment will allow us, if you want to manual focus on a frame, we'll go to that in a second. You get your multi-sample scanning, which is how many times would you like the scanner to go through your frame to maximize not just resolution, but also to minimize noise and probably give you actually better gradients. Multi-sample scanning doesn't particularly work incredibly well with positive film. It's just, you can't really see the difference, or at least I can't. Maybe your eyes are considerably better than mine, but I can't. That being said, with negative color film, it works very well, and negative black and white film, it works really well. For the purposes of this video, we're just gonna do one sample scanning, so you can see the speed of the scanning when it's actually doing just one. As you can see, the scanner is still doing the other functions as we're going through these. CCD scan mode, super fine scan. That's something that I have yet to see a benefit on. However, Nikon does give it to you, and you're more than welcome to use it. In this section right here, you can also see the scan bit depth, and this basically, the better the more depth you have, the better it is in post processing when you are hammering your files. If you do that, I always choose 16, but again, for the purposes of this one particular tutorial and demonstration, we're just going to use 8. We also have our curves, and now this is the only thing that I probably actually manipulate when I'm working on the scanner, so I'm just going to modify a bit some of this just to get a slightly better scan, or what I will believe to be a better scan. You may want to have a flatter type of image, but in my case, I like to have a bit more in the shadows, but still keeping very, very, very black. Once, as you can see in our queue window, now there is no queue, so it's obviously getting the preview of the last scan. What we're going to do now is we're going to check on the focus, and we're going to select our focus tool, which is on the right hand side, on the top of the right hand side window, and the scanner works. The autofocus actually works really well. The only thing is you need to select an area of contrast for it to be working properly. Now, you want to focus on the grain, obviously, but it's, I found it always best that in the case of this photograph, you see it's focusing on the center of the frame, which is not a bad idea, but there is not so much of a contrast in this area, so I'm going to select a bit of the sky in between the leaves. And once you select the area to be focused, the next thing that you have to do is on the middle button right here on the left, you're going to select autofocus. And now if you see on our queue right here, it's already signaling item 1 autofocus, and it's just going to start doing it in a second. To confirm focusing, we are going to select our what is this called, selection cursor, and we're going to select as a relatively small area of this frame, like so. Magnifying glass on the left hand side will make us zoom in. Now it looks very pixelated and everything, and it's not necessarily this is not the quality of the scan, but the scanner is not giving us a full size preview all the time. It takes a little while. It's like giving us a full scan. So what we can do is just have a very small preview of this area by clicking on the preview button on the left. Now it's going to start acquiring the preview and it'll position itself. Think about it for a second and then go for it. Anytime now. Maybe not. And there we go. So I can see that it's actually, it is focused. We can always, if you have doubt and you want to manually focus, As you can see, manual focus adjustment says 219. Now we can go in either direction, say 210, click another preview and see if the grain will be more or less, or fuzzier, sharper image. All it does is repositions the lens into a default position. This is kind of it's kind of like a stepped motor. It already knows which position it is, so it doesn't have to autofocus and then correct itself. It's just gonna change its position and then give us a new scan. I can see, yeah, it focuses really well. It's just to show you how it works. And there you go. Well, it's a bit fuzzier, so we're just going to return back to 219 where it was before. And don't worry, you don't need to get another preview to actually see back the result unless you really want to. So if we already know the position of the focusing of the lens when it's actually focused, we just go back to that number. We select our full frame right here, and if you're happy with all of the other parameters. Oh yeah, by the way, on this section where it says crop, you can see it doesn't really make sense, because if we choose centimeters or inches or whatever, I understand metrics better for this type of thing. You see it says 3.73 centimeters by 2.54 centimeters. Now it looks like a very small scan or a very small size for what effectively is a file size of 67 megabytes. However, right here, if you notice, it says resolution. Now the resolution is 4,000 pixels per inch, and the scaling here says 100%. So what's happening is the scanner, for some reason, chooses this parameter at the beginning, which is small dimension, incredible resolution. To test this out, you can always choose the maximum allowed with magnification, whilst keeping to the number closest to 300 pixels per inch, so you can see the actual file resolution. So I do know that for 35 millimeters, if you select slightly larger than your actual frame, is 50 centimeters will be the largest allowed size. In which case we have a resolution of 298.72 pixels inch, effectively 300 pixels per inch. And now it makes sense, with that file size, 50 centimeters, I'm pretty sure most will be very happy. And now all we have to do is just click scan. While it's doing the scan, we can again, come back and select all the frames that we have. So in this way, you're kind of multitasking, which obviously saves you a bit of time if you're just going to wait and then wait until the first scan finishes, then work on your parameters for the next scan. Let's imagine that we're happy with the following frame that we want to scan. Again, no color balance, no on-shot mask, no CH editor. Yeah, I'm just going to make it slightly brighter. Do the same thing, change the width to 50, the height in this case to 50 centimeters, resolution of 299.92, and multi-sampling of 1, bit depth of 8. Again, these are very, very basic parameters. I will normally go for four samples if I'm doing negatives, and 2 samples if I'm doing slides, just to be on the safe side. And the bit depth, I've always chosen 16, but I'm just demonstrating the fact that the scanner is working perfectly. Once you're happy with the parameters of your second frame, very simple. All you have to do, click scan, and it puts it on the queue. So at this point, you're looking at a first finished scan. Scanner will come back, scan your second frame, and in the meantime, all of that is happening. You can always come back to a third frame and carry on doing the same things. Select a new point of focus, focus again, select the maximum height just to get the utmost of this scanner. Modify your curves if you wish. If you don't wish to, then not to worry. Once you're happy with everything else, then you click scan, and as you see, obviously our window queue will point out to the 2 new jobs that the scanner is still have to do. You can see by the time in the video how long it takes to do 1 frame, 1 sample scan without ICE enabled. ICE is something that actually the scanner is coming with. I have never used it. I mean, I've tried it when I got the scanner, when I bought the scanner. I gave it a couple of tries, but I realized it was probably best for me to do it manually. My negatives are usually pretty clean. I used to be very, very careful how I loaded everything, and I found out that I didn't actually have that many speckles of dust on my negative, so I was always very happy to do it all in post and reduce my scanning time so I could, carry on working. I will tell you this though, it is always best to do all of your queue. If you're going to be scanning more than 1 frame in 1 tray, then leave all of that queuing, go and make a cup of coffee, or if you've already saved some pictures and you have another computer, which I imagine you will, be working on those meanwhile the scanner is doing this. Will maximize your time and will actually will make you not realize the time that the scanner is actually taking to do all of your scans, but you're going to end up with a very, very long batch of already scanned frames, and it's a great feeling, I'll tell you that. So I'm going to accelerate this part of the video and we'll get to the saving images in a second or two. So our scans are done, and as you can see right here on the left hand side, you're going to see our windows back again. I'm going to minimize this large window, and all of our frames are scanned right here. Now if you see, they come in image numbers, so image 1, 2, 3, and 8% is the magnification that it gives you as default. So we can zoom in to 100 and we can see that our scan was a success. It's very high resolution, it's focused on the grain. So we are going to save this image, and when we save the image we have a place. I'm going to delete these since this was a trial actually. So I made a folder called scans. Once you make and save your first image, it will default to that folder for the rest of your session. Otherwise it's going to try to save it in a Nikon default folder, which I can't remember what it is, but you want to make sure that you're pointing to the right folder. So I'm just going to click on save. It'll take a bit. It's already saved. You close it. Second image, save. Again, takes almost nothing. And then save again for the last one. And that's that. We'll come back to the twain source and we can eject. Now we can eject from from this window here. There's a button for eject film, but to show you that it's working, I'm just gonna press the eject button here, and it's gone. Now that it's unlocked, you may remove this. Almost, and well, yeah, almost after every relatively long scanning session with it 3 frames plus previews plus the whole thing, the scanner will calibrate again and as you can see, the scanner will not take the new tray in, so we gotta wait until we get a solid light, and now we can do it again. So we just input this, takes it in, it's working nice and dandy. It recognizes as a medium format holder, so it's gonna give us right here the default options for the for medium format. I'm using 645. I know it's not the most medium format of medium formats, but it's defaulting on 645, not because it knows it's 645, but because that is the smallest format on the list on the left. So we got 645, 66, 67, 68, and 69, which is the largest that you can do with the scanner. If you're doing anything panoramic like 612, sorry, this is not the scanner for you. However, if you're doing any of the more standard formats, then this scanner will definitely be able to handle it. So we select 605. In this case, we have, again, negative color, calibrated RGB, and it is very important to get the previews at the beginning, because once you get these previews, the scanner will know the position of your frame. Like I said before, your medium format holder doesn't have a preset place where your frames are, so you need to make sure the scanner knows where they are by clicking on the preview. And again, it's just a really quick pass. It takes about 10-15 seconds, and all it's gonna do for the scanner and for us, besides giving us the thumbnails, is to know the precise position of every frame. Right here you see we got a few frames that are all relatively the same, so we're going to select one of them. I'm going to select frame 3, you can select whichever you want, and choose selecting 35mm. Unless you select to do a preview of every frame, it's not going to do it. So by double clicking or by clicking preview, once this frame has been selected, you will get a preview. In this case, I'm just gonna double click. It's gonna solo the tray again, and it's gonna do a preview. If I don't badly remember, doing previews for medium format is actually slightly faster than doing previews for 35mm, since the magnification that the scanner has to do is not particularly high. In the meantime, we are getting that preview. I'm going to show you the extra option right here at the bottom of this window on the right hand side, which appears once you actually use the medium format holder, and that is the strip film offset. What that is in case the scanner, for some unknown reason, most of the times if you're doing night shots and your sky is pitch black, the scanner may not see the edge of that frame when it's doing the previews, in which case the strip film offset will help you bring back your frame so you can have the whole of it, and you don't have like a section of another frame in your preview. So in this case, obviously it's daylight, the edges of the film appear here on the side as black, and obviously the scanner has done a really good job in actually guessing where the boundaries are, because everything is pretty much perfect. Now the scanner, as I said before, it autofocuses all the time. In this case, we are lucky for this demonstration that the autofocus is actually done in the center of the frame. Obviously my terrible composition of this picture means that I've placed that lamppost in the exact middle of the frame. So what I'm going to do is just leave it as is. I believe that it's focused properly. If it, for some reason, and if you have better composition than me, you manage to, have a sky in the very center of your frame, I wouldn't trust the scanner very much to have done a really good job of focusing, since it's actually focusing on almost no contrast. In this case, it is actually, I'm pretty sure it's doing a good job. We can always confirm by magnifying any part of your frame so you can see, whether it's focused or not. So in this case, I'm just going to select that part of the building. We're going to zoom in. This will also show you how well the flatness of the film is when you're using the glass holder. This is why it's important to have one. So I'm just going to click on preview, and the scanner will give us a very magnified view of this section of the frame. So we know that if it's focused properly, it's focused properly. If it hasn't, then we'll know in a second. If you happen to mistrust the scanner still, which can happen. There's a lot of people that like to do the focusing, on specific areas of the frame. We can always, bring back this focusing tool right here, aim it at the area of interest, and click on autofocus, and then preview again. So the scanner will now autofocus, and then will give us again a short preview of that area in question. Alright, well, it's refocused, no real improvement. It obviously was properly focused before, so the scanner is just giving us essentially the same result. So we zoom out, one more time, we're going to select our cursor selection tool. We select the whole of the frame. Now in this case, obviously, the larger your frame, the larger your format, the larger your file size. And the scanner is doing exactly the same thing. It's going to tell us, again, inches and centimeters, 5 by 4 on the width and height. I believe 75 centimeters. Well, yeah, we can stretch it to 77 or 76. Yeah, 76 centimeters on the longest side on a 6x5. Now, 6x5, as you know, is not the biggest format. So what this is implying is if you have a 6.6 frame, it will be 76 by 76 centimeters at 298.39 pixels per inch. If you have a 6.7, it will be considerably larger, I believe almost 90 centimeters for the longest side. And if you have a 6.8, 6.9 and so on, then they will be considerably larger. Now, again, just to demonstrate the speed, I am going to do a single mode sampling scan out of this. 8-bit depth, again, all of this is very basic, just so you can see that it's actually working. And I just click scan, and I'll leave it scan, I'll come back in a second. Okay, now the scan is done. Same process as before. You have your image right here, and you can check if everything was done to your liking. Obviously, frame is still in focus. We're seeing this at 50%, so the scanner has obviously done a great job. Very, 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 very sharp image. It's just, it really focuses on the grain, so your only actual limitation will be grain. So if you're shooting very fine film, then obviously you'll do very well with the scanner. Control S for save, and as before, if you are still using the same setting as you did before, the directory or where you save your files will remain the same. Medium format, slightly larger file size, so it takes a bit longer, but now it's done. That is pretty much it. If you have any questions, please message me on eBay, and good luck if you actually end up getting the scanner. And before I leave, as you can see, after a session it will start calibrating again, and it's very advisable that you do not turn off the scanner before it ends the calibration. So just wait until you get the solid green, and then you may turn off the scanner, and that will be the end of that. Obviously close the program, and